they could all work together to accomplish this documentation and this caring of the residents. And the documentation could also help everyone around, because if this documentation is used in a better way than today, it could be itself a voice which tells a story about the residents and could help them live a better, healthier life.
And the challenge that we were given by Stureby Nursing Home and Johan, who is amongst us, it was that how can we create trustworthy, educated, and user-friendly ways for social documentation within nursing homes that promote daily care and social interaction between caregiver and caretaker. And Stureby Nursing Home, that is our challenge giver, it is located in Enskede. It is home for many people that has multiple diseases and mostly dementia. And Reality Lab is part of it. Reality Lab, it is an innovative base that comes up with projects for better elderly care and projects and ideas for the future. And Stureby Nursing Home is used as a test bed. What is social documentation? Social documentation is a bit different from how medical journal is done, different from how doctors and nurses use it. Social documentation has implementation plan that has the elderly's goals that needs to be followed through. And then social journal is a journal system where they record incident that has affected the goals in some way. For example, if the elderly has fallen at the home. And daily notes, there are daily activities done. It can look like this. This is the current system parasol. It looks like this, and the daily note looks like that, as you can read. It can read, Katrina didn't want to shower this morning when I was there. She was tired and just wanted to eat breakfast and then go back to bed again. It is important that the caregiver that is writing it writes it as their reflection of how the elderly might feel. It shouldn't reflect what the elderly is feeling since they're not writing it.
Right, so person-centered care is really about understanding the perspective of the resident. So, for example, if a resident would tell you like, oh, I really want to visit my mother today. A normal maybe response would be like, oh, but you can't do that because she's been dead for 2 years, you know? But maybe a person with dementia doesn't remember that. So it's really about understanding the person-centered care approach and making sure that you focus on the actual emotions of what the resident is saying then. So then maybe, okay, we can't go visit her. We can say, let's talk about your mom. Let's say why you miss her. Let's talk about your emotions towards that. And this kind of care method is already incorporated in the care system today, but it's something that we really carried with us when we developed our project. So visiting Stureby Nursing Home, yeah, so then we went there, we interviewed people. Good thing to know is that it's quite like little staff compared to how many people live in Nepal, so that's like 2.5 staff on 24/7. We also got to participate in some of their lovely activities, like their dance cafe, their musikstund, their book club, the handicraft, and this is part of their daily activities. So yeah, while we were there, we also got to interview some of the managers there, some of the assistant nurses, and the first sort of experience that you get is like people say, oh, the current system is not user-friendly, and it's very time-consuming, and there's language difficulty because a lot of assistant nurses are not very comfortable in Swedish yet. It's particularly written Swedish when it's like a formal language. But we dig a bit deeper. with these interviews, and realized there was also a lack of motivation, and wondered why that was. And it's because really it just seemed a bit meaningless writing out documentation, because there wasn't used for anything really, and they didn't really reflect the important work that the nurses are doing. So that's something that was our deepest insight.
So from the insights we gathered, we came up with 3 personas: Laura, Sol, and Cal. So Laura is 3 years old. She's worked as an assistant nurse for 2 years. She speaks Swedish as a second language. And then we have Sol, who is 52. She works as a supervisor. She speaks Swedish as her first language, and she is working in elderly care for 10 years. Then we have Carl, who is a relative to an elderly. His mom has dementia and lives in the room, and he's Swedish. Then, so from this we came, from the insights we got, we came up with this thing. So we met Laura. We amazed to realize that she has not documented for 7 months. We wonder if this means that she feels uncomfortable writing in Swedish. We wonder if this makes her feel distrusted and devalued. We also met Saul, who also does not think that the social documentation is it needs to be prioritized. We wonder if she feels so because she's powerless in such a way that she cannot make the assistant nurses to document, or if she misses the right tools to analyze the data that is collected during the documentation. We also met Carl. We are amazed to realize that he does not check the system to find out how the mom is doing. We wonder if this means that he doesn't know how to use the system well, and that's why he's not using the system. So we came up with this redefined challenge. So our new challenge, or the challenge that we thought was more appropriate from the insight we gathered, was how do we make social documentation more accessible and integrated into the daily routine of the caregiver to reflect their meaningful work.
So we started the idea phase after this, and we thought we should go back to the basics. And what's the basics? It's the user needs. So we kind of put everything in the Excel file, like who are our users and stakeholders and what are their needs, and try to point out what are the overlapping needs and what's in the center of the needs. Yeah, and then who are our core stakeholders and core needs, and it boiled down to storytelling. And since then we ideated many different concepts. After we selected one, and the next slide will be about the Life Storybook. So this is our main concept. Stories are stronger than facts. And this is based on 3 values that we wanted to focus on. And the first one is the co-creative values. So as it is now, I mean, the caregivers are the lonely agents of social documentation. So in this scenario, you have 3 stakeholders. So the one who documents, the one being documented, and the one who reads. It's a lot of responsibility, and they don't have so much time. So if we shift our focus and try to think that responsibility can be agency, which is our granted right to engage and make difference, and share it with the core stakeholder, who is basically the residents, wouldn't it be better? And the second value was the process-oriented approach. So as it is now, it's social documentation consists of observational notes, which is often information generated from data. And it's a kind of a means to communicate among different stakeholders, staff members, and the relatives. And the challenge here is that this instrumental approach makes caregivers think that this is rather a subsidiary task, where it doesn't reflect their meaningful work, which is social interaction with the residents. So what if we shift our focus or twist our mind to think that social documentation itself can be a meaningful activity in its own right, and not just simply means to an end. And the third value is a narrative-based contents, So as it is now, it's like information derived from data that gets fed back into the care system to generate further data. And what we observe from caregivers and residents' daily life is that their social interaction is made of stories. It's about stories of places and people and things, and whether it's true or not, that's a non-issue, because I mean, when you are weaving new stories in real time based on those past time stories, why would it matter? So what if we think stories are not only data and contents and not only information and description instead of prescription, and focus on the everyday stories of sharing stories? And even the data-based information can be woven into narratives in the end. So these are the three things that we really focus on. That was this.
Okay, so we came up with the contents of the book. So in addition to having the required notes, the required case notes for each elderly, that we thought we should simplify the process because they complain that it's too much work with the use of tools such as the churches. It can be implemented digitally or you can do it on paper, which is the process of documenting. And in addition to having those things, we can have sections of the documentation that includes the interest of the elderly, gives a short profile on them, keeps a diary of their daily activities while at the center, and maybe something like a family tree or more. A family tree will be especially helpful for the elderly with dementia because it can be a point to interact or jog their memory once in a while when they interact with the caretaker.
Yeah, and we saw the current system is quite insufficient and non-motivational, and we want to focus more on co-creation with caregiver and the residents, and we want it to be formal and informal. The informal one, that the elderly and the caregivers do activities together and they interact, and that is a form of documentation as well, that they do activities together and a resident can express themselves directly. And another documenting can be the routine care. It can be a checklist, and in that way it can be more systematic, that you check what they have done. They're done eaten breakfast, had showered, they've gone to their walk today, and so.
Ladies and gentlemen, moving on, we developed like an addition to our prototype to make it an app so that we can add some more innovative for the future development of our Life Storybook concept. So ladies and gentlemen, we decided to do this, and somebody may ask like, why would the app help in terms of this kind of problem, like for assistedness, in terms of social documentation and stuff? But it will help, ladies and gentlemen, in the future, or maybe from 2 years from now, because nowadays technology is taking over. That one, we can't even resist it. So that's why we wanted to develop our concept to be in the digital form, so that it can help the caregiver to document while the caregiver is still working. So this will help, like, because we developed an app which is simpler than the one which is currently used right now, because it doesn't require us, the caregiver to log in, to have like multi logins, and it is not difficult because it will use like the API to translate languages from different languages. So it will solve the problem that we found out when we were doing our research, which was the language barrier. So the caregiver will just like record audio, just like using WhatsApp. So after recording that audio, then the audio will be transcribed using the API technology. It will be translated to text, and it will be saved according to the user's needs or language that the caregiver wants. So it will make the work simpler. So the caregiver will be working and putting on headsets, like small headsets that are used for the nurses, and recording to the app and saving data in the actual time. So this will solve a lot of problems, and for storage again. And the app at the end of the day, it will make sure that it compiles all the data collected and makes it to be in a timeline form, so that it will be easier for the assistant nurse manager to analyze the data. Because the assistant manager, when we went there, he is the one who is responsible to collect all the data which is produced which is saved by the assistant nurses, so that he can take that data and analyze it and use it more further, so that it will be easier for him to do that information and easier to follow up and to fast document. And ladies and gentlemen, this will be a very wonderful thing for our challenge giver to do, as the use system right now is not that much used, and the caregiver, that they don't have time, like in their routine, time to document. So it will really help them in the future, and it will change lives, and it will make it simpler for them to document.
To be more inclusive between nurses and residents makes it documentation not something that you have to do in extra, but something you're doing in the moment with the resident, and more inclusive to get a real hands-on for the residents to make it more on point as well. And we'd like to show you a little prototype which we've made. If you can click it on. Lucipella will represent it in just a moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, we came up with this prototype, which was our digital form of the storybook, which can be used, and it is simpler to use, since at the Studio B there is a system admin, which is really there so the system admin will help them to get to know how to use the system. So here it will be used in their devices, but mostly we looked at the security, because under health security is considered like confidential information about the elderly. So the app will only work in the Studio B nursing home network only. When the caregivers go home, it won't work. It will only work during the So here they will click, and then the assistant nurse will log in. Then the assistant, this is like the residents, list of residents, and then can choose the resident. And then here, ladies and gentlemen, they can record, like your WhatsApp, like you can just record while you are busy doing something. They can just record, and then it will translate video to text. Then they will save it, and here they can add a picture or something, and then they can save it, and then it will be in a timeline for a citizen, an individual resident. So, like you see here, it will like say at the dance cafe, she was happy today because she went to the dance cafe, and there is a picture there. So it will be simpler for them to check and analyze data much faster than before. And they can scroll down to check. She joined the other resident for FICA. This is just like the documenting that is done in the parasol, but here it will be more eye-catching and more easier to analyze and to see. This is the profile for assistant nurse. Each and every assistant nurse will have like the username and password, and then they can just log out. Thank you.